Okay, on this next question, we are going to talk about the expression that is equivalent. So we need to make sure that we are factoring. So this we could use, we talked about using our calculator to go ahead and find that GCF. So we said we can use menu 25, and if we want to find the GCF of 210, menu 25, this is apparently, there we go, 25. So we have 210 and 63. So the GCF is 21. So now we can go through. We can divide this by 21. And then we also need to look at our variables. We have our lowest variable is to the first power, so we can take that out. So 21D. Don't forget remember, it can be a number, it can be a letter, or it can be both. 21D, 210 is divided by 21 10 times with a D left. And 3 goes into 3 times 21 is 63. So then when we look at this, make sure you're looking carefully. This one, these don't have the D's, and this one has the wrong sign. Number 8 is a formula, and you need to remember when we do a sequence, we do not start at 0, we start at 1. So this is our a sub 1. We can see that these are in fact multiplying by 4. So that is our R, because if you look at all of these are geometric sequences, meaning that they are multiplying. So our formula for that, if you recall, was f of n is equal to a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So when I plug my numbers in, 1.3 is my a sub 1, 4 is my r times n minus 1, which is in fact letter B. So if it's a sequence and you don't have the minus 1, don't choose those. If you look at number 9, when we graph this, this is one you definitely want to use the calculator for, because they're giving it to you in an inequality. So we need to make sure that we are graphing this. You need to make sure that when you put it into your calculator, you need to, it's an inequality, so we're going to hit back and hit relation, because it is not an equation. 2x minus 5y is greater than or equal to 10. You can see it is shaded down here on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and shade mine. And then remember, your solution set is in the shaded region. Or, because this is on a dotted line, or a solid line, or on a solid line. So when we go through, I'm going to change my color here, and I'm going to graph all of these coordinates. So 0, 5 is way up here. 5, 0 is here, it's on the line. Negative 2, 5 is here, and negative 5, positive 2 is there. So the only one that is either in the shaded region or on the line is B. When we look at number 10, which expression? Some of us are still struggling with this. You have to keep in mind that the coefficients go with themselves. They're doing their own thing. We're not subtracting these. So 45 divided by 15 is 3. That gets rid of these. Then our rule when we're dividing is to subtract. So negative 6 minus a negative 2. We have 2 minus 8. And then we have 12 minus a negative 4. And we can see here we have double negatives become a positive. So when we solve this, we get negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. 2 minus 8 is a negative 6. 12 plus 4 is 16. And we need to remember that these are negative, so these are going to go in the denominator. So when I rewrite this, I have 3b to the 16 all over m to the 4p to the 6th, which is going to be letter B. The next one is another sequence, but if you look at your answer choices, you can see that in fact those answers are in y equals mx plus b form. So we are going to start with our first term, but we need to get to 0 for our b. We can see in fact that we are adding 25 cents or 1/4. So this is our m. If I go back 25 cents, I'm at negative 0.75. So my equation is 25 cents x minus 75 cents, and they used n instead of x, and that's okay. So this is going to be answer C. When we look at the last page, I need to find my last page. When we look at this last page, we have, this is multiplying trinomials, or binomial by a trinomial. So we are simply going to distribute as we've done before. We just did this. You can use box or FOIL when you do this. So I'm going to go this way. So negative 4h to the third minus 36h squared plus 4h, and then I'm going to use this one. So now I have 3h squared. I'm just going to line them up so they're easy to look at. And then I have 3 times 9 is 27h, and then 3 times the negative 1 is negative 3. Now I can collect like terms, and then I can look for my choice. So it is a negative 4h cubed, so it can't be those. This one has the wrong second term, so it has to be f. Now, this is an exponential function. It is talking about interest, which we talked about, just makes your money get bigger. So keep in mind it is y equals ab to the x. So this is your a, or your initial, and b is your growth or decay factor. So remember, we could break this up into 1 plus 0.025, and as a decimal, we need to change it then to a percent. So this is 2.5%. So which one of these is the best interpretation? The initial balance decreases? No. B is greater than 1. That's a growth. So it can't be that one. The balance increases at a rate of 2.5. That's what we have up there. We'll see. Initial balance was 1025. No, the initial balance was 850. And the balance at the end of 1 year is 850. No, that's the initial. So it does have to be G. On number 4, another one that we need to graph this, guys. If we graph it, we'll be able to see what is happening. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to clear out my graph, tab, and I'm going to change this back to my regular view. I'm going to put in 8 parentheses, 0.25, close parentheses, to the x power. So there's our exponential function, and looking at that, we need to answer these questions. So we can see here the x-intercept is 0.25. Well, no, because on an exponential, you're not going to have an x-intercept. It's going to get really, really close to that, but we're not going to have an x-intercept. The y-intercept is 0.08 or 0.8, yes, because you can see that is the beginning right there. And asymptote. Now, some of you were really struggling with what that looks like. So I'm going to change this back to relation. I'm going to graph x equals 0. And when I do that, and I look at my graph menu for A, I want to see the whole thing. My calculator is apparently not wanting to work. We can zoom out. Let's try that. I can see that my graph goes past the y-axis. So an asymptote means it's not going to touch. This is not an asymptote. There is an asymptote at y equals 0 because it is the horizontal line. And it got really, really close to that, but it didn't touch it. Does it include 2, 1? Well, if I count up over 2 and up 1, it looks close, but probably not so. We can always do Control T. Nope, 2 and 1/2. 0.5, excuse me. So double check those things to see which one would work. So it is G. When we look at number 15, which is our last one, on this last question, we need to do the prime factorization of 147, which is 7 and 21, which is 7 and 3. And it is a square root, so we're looking for a pair. Remember, pairs go outside. We already have a 4 outside, so 4 times 7, our 3 gets left inside on the square root of 3, 28 on the square root of 3. If you have any questions, please let me know.